affirm this story is true.
Yes.
Or, you know, that then you're saying that, but these people could also be the ones that say, they will all say we're going to say the same thing. Unless you go into a place where you interview different people.
Yes.
Because if you're saying that I'm going to interview this person, then that's a problem, because who's to say that that person, they didn't agree to say, okay, we're going to say this.
And that is what you are saying is very much important. That is why whatever story there, even in written stories, we have to think about perspective.
Yes.
We have to think about perceptions and all these. Who is telling that story and for what?
Yes.
You know, that is where the thing about a variety of truths will come into the picture. Whose story are we to believe? If you talk about even white men telling the story of black men, you know, what is the motive? Motivation becomes a very important thing. And if you are lost on motivation, then there's going to be a problem.
Okay. So now that we've set the stage about oral literature,
Yes.
we can begin to discuss where we come from.
Yes.
Where we were when before making our way down to the coast, whether it was salt, whether it was to see the sea,
yes,
or to see these strange people who were there.
Yes, or even to expand on the land that people that our livestock had to graze on and all that kind of a thing.
Okay.
Short of the long is that there were multiple reasons why people left.
Yes.
You know, there were multiple reasons why people left. So these are the things we have to think about. Clearly, we will say that since it is almost a proven fact that humanity began from the Nile River.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then people took different patterns, and for whatever reasons, and they started moving wherever they wanted to move, as a way of expanding area for habitation, area for agrarian activities, and all that kind of a thing.
Okay. Yeah. So now we move to where we were before, before we came down south, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So so there were many kingdoms that were formed.
Very many.
After the other, some existed simultaneously.
Yes.
So we want now to just talk about some of them, because some of them were places that our ancestors lived.
Yes.
Before coming down to the coast.
Yes.
Okay. Right. So are we prepared for the second slide, Prof?
Yeah, I mean,
or should we wait?
No, I mean, if the gentleman can let it roll.
If Anthony can hear us, can he put the second slide up, please? Yes. Okay. So now, Prof, here it is, right?
Yes.
They say the Ghana Empire was one of the oldest. West Africa. That was West Africa. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Because if you look at the Ghana, it's almost the same as there's the Ashanti and the Dahomey. Those are African empires.
Yes.
Yeah. But and we have Mali. Well, Mali also, but I never realized that Mali, the empire of Mali, was the size of Western Europe. It was huge.
Yes. Some of these were very huge.
Yeah, and then there was Songhai.
Yeah.
We had Aksum Empire in East. Of course, we had the Great Zimbabwe, and then of course we had Zulu, the Zulu Empire. So yeah.
And yet our focus is on the West Africa segment of these African empires.
From 1 to 5. For those of you listening, it's from 1 to 5. Yes. Ghana, Mali, Songhai, Ashanti, and Dahomey.
And even one will just take a bet and put in the Asian Empire, because East Africa, that's part of how we were able to get this far. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So Prof, if we're setting the stage now, right? And you said that people migrated for many reasons, right?
Yeah.
But we're looking at the Mali Empire. The Mali Empire, such a huge empire, you know. I mean, such a wealthy empire, you know. right? Sundiata Keita, I built a very prosperous
Yes.
empire. And then when he passed, we have Mansa Musa.
Yes.
Yeah, and then Mansa Musa, of course. Actually, I checked up on something reading, and they said that Mansa Musa has his wealth was like 400 billion. He was one of the richest men in the world.
Yes. Yes.
So of course, then he goes to Mecca.
Mm-hmm.
He takes what 12,000 slaves, gold,
And the people are awed,
precious.
and the people are their jaws are hanging down. What?
Yes,
What a man with this great wealth and that sort of a thing.
Prof. The man had so much wealth. He was giving gold away. He crashed the gold market. It brought it down. The value of gold came down. They said he was so wealthy. You know.
But so then this is a reality of economics. You
Yeah.
know, as what was originally scarce had a value to it, the value will fall if it becomes plenteous on the market.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's what inflation and all those things and all those things come into the picture.
Yeah. And one of the things I like about Mansa Musa is that he built the center of knowledge in Timbuktu.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so Timbuktu became like the university of the world. You know.
The intellectual
Yes.
mecca of the place.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what.
I really like that, and I like the fact that he also I guess he encouraged thinking.
Mhm.
People from all over, you know, to Timbuktu to encourage thinking.
And that is what leadership does.
Yes.
That is what leadership does. The
Yes.
more enlightened a cluster of leaders, the better it is for the society. But if the cluster of leaders, the hegemony, is morally bankrupt, is intellectually bankrupt, so does the society sadly go down the hill on that note.
Yeah, because when I think 1330 or 1337, I think when Mansa Musa dies, well, at that time the Songhay was taking over almost, but the empire fell apart because of internal wrangling for succession. Right?
And again, these points that are being brought out are very much important. What happens when a leader gets to the point of believing that beyond him or her, nothing else exists? But a leader has to be foresighted enough to prepare himself or herself for the next phase of what is to happen.
Yeah.
I am supposed by nature as a human being. This is a span of time that I have to live, given the health infrastructure and all the kinds, and given the reality of other people who have lived. Before you came into the picture, there had been others who lived. You cannot ignore that and think that you are going to make progress. So whatever you are doing at a specific time, that is why, in fact, the term of office becomes very much important. If there is a defined time period within which you are supposed to operate, then definitely you have to create a room for succession. This reminds me of there was a program and this Kigali this Rwandi guy was being interviewed. It's like the guy keeps marking on succession so that he will continue to be in office. And one strong lady got up and said, "Are you prepared? What plans are you making for succession?" And then most people in the place there burst into laughter. "What plans are you making for succession?" And the guy danced around this thing by saying, "Well, I didn't put that." He said he didn't put himself there. "I didn't put myself there. It is circumstance that brought me here. The same circumstance that brought me here at some point is going to work." is going to phase out, and if then I must go. But that should not be the case. We are talking about this, Musa. What is happening in the process? What is happening in the process is that people have to be realistic, to have a marked time. And if you have the marked time, then definitely you create a room for succession, and therefore there can be an easy or smooth exit into the next. If you don't do that, then internal wrangle comes into the picture, and then things fall apart.
But you must, I mean, we must also know that when we said earlier that Mansa Musa made Timbuktu the headquarters for education,
Yes.
intellectual discourse.
Yes.
So these people were educated. They are not going to sit there and Mansa Musa is dead and they be like, oh, what's happening? So of course there's this internal wrangling.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can do this job.
Yes.
And that's what happens. That there's this internal wrangling, right? And then the Songhai comes in, take pieces, because the Mali Empire made up of groups. So the Songhai comes in, the disintegration of the Mali Empire. Then the Songhai comes, and then I think the Moroccan Empire takes over after a while. So we have all these disintegrations, right? Disintegration. So migration then has always been a commonality in Africa.
In the world, that's it. It's in the world. The thing about it is, again, you see, one of the diseases is that of not being sure of the plans of succession.
Yeah.
And if one region of the world or one part of the world is weak, definitely another region that is close by will be peeking in to see what it can do to take over the weakening region and what have you. So that is being part of the pattern of migration and what have you. People taking opportunities and what have you, and just increasing their role to be able to amass more land for themselves and all that.
So now these people are moving towards the coast. They're coming down to the Green Coast, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand. So maybe we should look at the third slide to like go through and see where all these people came from, and then we can discuss.
Why
do
not?
You want to do that?
Why
not? Okay. So let's do the third slide, please, and then we can, and then Prof can
we can all get into what is happening
about it.
Yeah.
So there it is.
So you see the routes here and there, like we said earlier. First, people often want to situate themselves. People want to see the land area they have and what they can do with the land area.
Yes.
And so there's got to be, the ears are picked up to see which areas are weak because of rivalry and all that kind of thing, and can be annexed here and there.
Yeah.
Because the more land you have, the more productivity hopefully you can have, and then of course whatever goes with it, people being happy and all that kind of a thing. So these are all possible. Come again.
No, I said you see the shaded part. If we can have the next slide, these are the trade routes.
Yes.
But the next part, the next slide, please. Look how big the empire was. The Song Empire.
Yes. See how it is.
Okay. So you have the Ashanti, the Dahomey, but look at Songhai, Timbuktu, and the Mali Empire. Look, Ghana Empire.
Yes.
It's huge.
Yes, of course. Extends here and there. That's what it is. Yeah. And again, this came as a result of people kind of jostling for positions and what have you, and stretching themselves here and there. Those who belong, and those who didn't belong had to kind of shift somewhere else and either move south or move north or move whatever, just as to create a space for those who were strong-armed to be able to do that. Again, we have to keep in mind that this whole thing begins with the idea that yes, we have a huge land space and that land space belongs to us. Nobody else can get there. And how do we get that? Well, we get that by conquering other people, or subduing them so that they become part of us, and then we become the dominant group to move on. Those are the things that are happening over there. Jostling for position, jostling
And
for. Go ahead.
this was way before the coming of the colonial people, because they said that when people started to talk about Mansa Musa's wealth, you know, how even his animals had gold, his servants,
Yes.
you know, his camels,
Yes.
it filtered to Europe. And so that's why, I mean, when you watch movies, you see people say they're looking for this lost gold empire. You know, they keep thinking they're going to find Timbuktu or to find this place that Mansa Musa's gold was from.
Building stories around that. Of course, you will realize that even as early as the 1880s, when they're talking about dividing up Africa, you know, those are the stories that filter in. People wanted to come to Africa to be able to get land, to be able to dig up resources and whatever. So those stories went all in those areas, and people, it was like talking about locusts coming to light. You know, people wanted to come back.
It's like roads, you know, Cecil Rhodes. I mean, the queen gave him.
Yes.
You know, that's why it was called Rhodesia. Gave him Zambia, gave him Malawi. You know,
imagine that.
So Prof. Okay, so now the empires are disintegrating.
Yes.
Songhai took over from Mali. Moroccan Empire is coming to take over Songhai. So all the people are being displaced.
Yes.
There's internal rivalries. There's fight for successions. And the people, of course, they want stability or they want safety.
Yes.
So they are migrating down to the coast. Okay.
They want rest.
So now we have our people, our Liberian people, the indigenous people, right? Coming down towards the coast now.
The Green Coast, Green Coast Forest, and all those
now
places.
we're coming to the making of Liberia. We've talked about where they were. We've talked about what happened. Of course, there were groups that migrated because of other things. But we're talking about mass migration.
Yes, mass migration,
Not coming down the coast. We're talking about huge groups of people, you know, clans, families, people moving towards the coast, right? Because of this integration and a rivalry and a fighting, things like that.
And we now we can talk about it, and it sounds so easy and fast. But these things, these migration patterns here and there took so many years. Some people will come in groups of 20s, 30s, and what have you, and sit down at a place, settle a place for X number of years. And then maybe because of diseases and all that and other rivalry, they will want to keep moving and all that. So it was not a one-shot type of thing. It was not a one-shot type of thing.
So, Prof, what I wanted to ask was that, you know, I was looking at the movement of people and reading, and it was interesting that so people moved down the coast, right? Some of them a lot of them settle in what is now Liberia, right?
Yes.
Is it because there was also the Ashanti Empire or the Ghana Empire? Well, the Ashanti Empire, is that why a lot of people didn't settle in what is now Ghana? That because there was already people there, and somehow Liberia didn't have any empire or anything, so they came to Liberia?
Well, the thing about it, is that whenever I try to think about the migration pattern and all that kind of thing, motivations and all that, I think about the civil war years in Liberia. When people left Monrovia They didn't go straight to Sierra Leone. They didn't go straight to La Côte d'Ivoire. There were pockets of settlements and what have you as they try, because they wanted to know, they wanted to get a sense of what was happening where, so that they didn't get to a place where there was more confusion and maybe death and what have you. So as these people came down from, say, the middle part of West Africa and were coming down, it was more of a try and testing type of movement. They will get to places, and if they were not accepted there, obviously they had to what? They had to kind of think about what to do. And the next thing they did was they kept moving wherever they thought would bring a solace to them. So it's anybody's guess to find out precisely why this set of people did not remain where they were and why this set of people remain where they were. There were some that were absorbed, there were some that could not, and therefore they kept the moving pattern until they got to a place that was free, hopefully, that they will make a home for a very long time.
Okay, so let's the next slide so we can see exactly who came to us. And yeah, so it's kind of so the Pele, right?
Yes.
The Pele were members of the Niger Congo ethnic group. They migrated from Western Sudan, and their language falls in the Mandi group of Niger Congo. So some Liberian historians believe that the Pele, like the Loma, Bandi, Ma, and their ethnic groups, began immigrating from Kumba, present-day Ghana, where they were builders of the empire by the early 1500s. And Prof, thank you. The third group of people, the Kru Bassa, Day, Mamba, and Grebo tribes, they came from what is now the Republic of Ivory Coast.
Yes.
So the Gola is the oldest of the Liberian tribes. It migrated from the interior of Central Africa to West Africa. They arrived as early as the 12th century. They were joined by the Kru, Kua, Bassa, Kra, and Day ethnic groups, moving from the north and east. Around the 15th century, people of the Mande language group, which are the Gio, Mano, Loma, Bandi, Mende, and Pele, migrated into the region. Then a second group came about 6,000 BC from the Western Sudan. They defeated the Golas and established an empire under the leadership of King Kumba. So after his death, the group splintered to the Pele, the Loma, Bandi, Mende, and the Mano, all belonging to the same linguistic group. Then the Bai and the Mandingo came last. That's what it was. That's why he said. I have a question. Again, we come to the, before we start to discuss them, again to the orality. You know, I want to so that Kumba they talk about, there's two versions. This one say the Kumba Empire in Ghana, and then they stay there until it splintered, then they moved to Liberia. But then in some history books, it says they came to Liberia, and then they had this king called King Kumba.
So you see Kumba, the name Kumba still rings.
Yes.
And so you will see what major leader he was. Therefore, you know, even with the variety of the story, still Kumba, the name Kumba reigns supreme. One of the things we will find all the time, especially when we're thinking about the cultural nations, the ethno-cultural groups, as we talk about, is that it's often a strong man or strong woman will rise from among them, and all other people in that group rally around that person.
Yes.
And so he becomes or she becomes, we are Kumba's people, or we are CEO's people, that sort of a thing. Those things become very much important in understanding how the names are fashioned. Now, what I said earlier also is that with all these ethno-cultural groups and what have you, one of the things that's been done in studying the indigenous sector of Liberia is that people have been able to classify these people in terms of at least the three major groups that we know. we talk about the Kwa group, we talk about the Mel group, and we talk about the Mande group. We find out that even the Mande group is the largest of the three major groups. For instance, for the Mel, is just Gola and Kisi. And for the Mande, you talk about Vai, you talk about Mende, you talk about Mandingo, you talk about Bandi, you talk about Kwele, Loma, and that sort of a thing. So the grouping makes the whole thing a little clearer for us to know which set of ethnic groups belong to which major language group.
And Prof, interesting, because I was reading, I've forgotten the historian name, and he talked about something called Dako.
Dako, yes, Dako.
Dako. And he said, oh, okay, Dako. And he said that, you see, people lump people together. So, for example, he says, like, for the Grebo people, there are different groups, right? Like Grebo people will be living in, let's say, Sinko.
Yeah.
And then Grebo people living Mama Point, right?
Yes.
According to this guy, they are distinct groups. They have linguistic similarity, and maybe culture, they're homogeneously culture the same, right? And then people come and say, oh, they're Grebo. And he says that, no, they are not Grebo. So explain to me what Dako means.
The thing about it is, this is where an understanding of language and dialects.
Okay.
Language and dialects come into the picture. Dako has to do with a group that has one key specific ancestry. Okay. So for instance, if we're talking about crew, we talk about Dake. Dake is the plural, and we have Dako. So for instance, as I was talking about crew, you have Grances Dako, you have Jirao Dako, which is Sastan Dako, and then you have you talk about Grebo. And I don't like to use this thing about seaside Grebo and interior Grebo and what have you. Yes, people who want to be derogatory, they get to that point. But if you have the coastal and the interior, you can understand what is meant by the whole thing about Dhaka. Even within the coastal Grebo, you will find major cultural segments of that. So that is why I said, to understand this thing about Dako and Dake, you have to think about language and dialects. That is why, for instance, somebody say you speak the Kru dialect. No, I don't speak the Kru dialect. I speak the Kru language. You speak the Kru, the Grebo language. I mean, you speak the Grebo dialect. No, you don't speak the Grebo dialect, because there are several cultural segments of Grebo. So you cannot talk about that. So we will talk about the Kru language, and then somebody will ask you which dialect of the Grebo language do you speak. The same thing with Pele, the same thing with Loma, I'm sure.
As actually Pele, I was reading, and Pele, they do have names according to location.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what it is. You see, so if you talk, let's get to even English. You talk about British English, you talk about American English. Even within that, if you get to the accents, you talk about various accents of American English, and then that of British English. So that is why a program like this is very much important for us to understand the various. I know somebody who will not care whatever happens to say, oh man, I will say you speak the Kru dialect or you speak the Grebo dialect. But it is very much important for you to have a little more nuanced type of understanding of these things.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I read it, and I will send you the article, because I was reading, and I was like, oh, he's saying that when you're lumping people together, you shouldn't do that. But I saw this word, and he's explaining the word in the article. Okay, so okay, so Dako and Dake.
Yeah, Dake is the plural.
It's the plural. Yeah. So that means that if you look at it, then if you look at Grebo in the Grebo people in Kabweken.
Yes.
You're saying that they're speaking a dialect.
Dialect of the
Yes.
Grebo land. That's what it is.
And then the
That's
people from Plibo,
yeah, they are speaking a different dialect of Grebo.
of
Yes.
Grebo.
Yes.
Okay, I understand now. And Prof, it's kind of funny because I was reading about the Kru people. Well, they're saying that the Kru people, the people were saying that their children shouldn't marry the Kru people because the Kru people were the ones that used to hand the captured slaves on the ships. So they told them not to marry them. So it was very interesting
It's
when I was
misunderstanding of a lot of these things. Yes.
but also Dahomey, the empire of Dahomey, it's interesting reading these things, how you get these little glimpses of nuggets of knowledge.
Yes.
The reason why the Dahomey empire was hated was because in the African tradition, when you when you capture people from war,
Yes.
inter-ethnic war, you keep them or you kill them. You don't sell them.
Uh-huh.
And Dahomey's wealth was based on selling these captured prisoners to slave ships. And so that's why they were hated. And the crew were hated because the crew were the ones who put them on these ships. Yeah, so it was very interesting. Yeah, it was very interesting. I was reading when I was reading it. Okay, so we have this. So now it comes the question: when the Gola, that's the oldest tribe or the oldest group that came to Liberia, they say when the Gola and the Kisi came, they met people there. So who are these people that they met there?
Now remember that we started saying that the very early group that Kanga and Cassell, for instance, talk about, they were described as pygmies.
Okay.
The Bushmen and what have you.
Yeah.
And one would surmise that in the area they arrived, such people were the ones they met in there.
So that's the indigenous people of Liberia.
Yes.
So where are they now?
Oh no, they've become extinct.
Did they intermarry? Maybe did they intermarry?
Probably that would have come about. That would have come about.
Okay.
And of that early group, okay, you can look at the chart and see that of that early group, because of the early nature of their existence, nothing more significant is known about them. We would assume that some either were run off, some were mingled with the other people because of intermarriage and several other things. So many things can happen when two groups or several groups meet. So
they probably got some diseases and died.
No, they won't just die en masse like that, but because they intermarried and all that, probably that kind of seal that part of their fate in the process.
Yeah. So let's see if we have questions and then we can.
I think we're talking about we have seconds to break and then come back.
Can we have a little break or and then questions, please, comments, or questions?
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Ja.
Okay, do we have any comments, questions, suggestions? Hi, Anastasia. She's watching from Atlanta.
Long time, Anastasia. What happened to you?
Thanks for the show. Our editorial team appreciate this show. The Liberian listener, thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. So I thought we had comment. Okay. In other words, orality challenges us into finding out which harvest these things incidents occurred that will later transfer into dates as we know. Yeah. Thank you, Anastasia.
Yeah, that's true.
Oral literature can be subjective. Yes.
Yeah, it can. Okay, well, it can be subjective.
That,
Okay.
yeah. One of the reasons for the movement of people towards the south was because of wars among big kingdom and clan chiefs. Yeah, that's what we said.
Well, yeah, war is part of it. You know, war is part of it.
Because when they were fighting for that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks for the show. Informative. Yeah. Okay. So we have talked about Dako and Batio.
Where is that? Dako and Bati. No, Bati is a war cry. You know, Bati is a way of bringing attention of people to focus on whatever is happening in the meeting. Bati, the key thing is the phrase is Batina, which is let's live here. Bati, let's live here. That's what it is. So when someone says Batio, Bati, in other words, let's bring our attention back to what we were talking about. You see, that becomes a battle cry that people have to respond to. My people, let's live here. Let's focus here. That's what Bati means. And it's a choir phrase.
So now that we've laid the foundation, people have moved to the coast. So see how they are divided in the society. So can we have the last slide, please? So here it is, according to 2008. I don't know if it has changed.
Yes. Okay. That's interesting. Yes. That's the thing I like about a chart like this, because the colors and everything, we know what is what. Yes. Yeah, we see Grable. We see what is it? Gio, which is down. We see Mano. We see your crew. We see what is it? Loma. We see Kisi. Yes. Okay. So it gives a fair representation of how these groups divide.
So in the blue that says other, that's where we have the Vi, the Mandingo, and the others, right? The amount.
I think will be, but it will be a good thing for us to delineate, for instance, the Mandingo segment of it all and what have you. That is why some of these things, as I was saying, you will see a Mandingo chap will say, "Well, where are we?" So you cannot lump the whole thing into the 24.5%, because remember now that towards the late 1930s into the 40s, remember that other African groups came our way for prosperity and other kind of thing. So you talk about Sierra Leone came, Ghana came, and Nigeria came, and several other places there. So that 24.5% has a problem that we have to deal with.
And I was looking at the chart, and they have the Kisi, but they don't have the Gola, but I guess they are the same people.
No, Kisi and Gola, well, of course, to say that they are the male group and say that they are the same, still there has to be a way of separating them. You know, once we have identified them as being a part of the indigenous sector of the society, they have to have a specific spot.
I wonder if people can hear us, because I see Anastasia says she cannot hear.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, can everybody hear us? Can the audience hear us as we're speaking, please? Maybe they can say yes if they can hear us.
Someone is saying that don't forget the final slide.
That's the one we did. But I just
Oh,
wondered, because can they hear us? Okay, so people can hear us. So okay,
yes, yes.
then maybe it's not us yet.
Mhm.
So Prof, we have laid the groundwork, I
Yes,
think, for how we've come to this place.
yes,
I mean, I was ready to jump into it, and it's good that you said let's take a,
yes. Mhm.
it's, if we are to discuss the making of the republic,
Yes.
then it is almost like you're baking a cake.
Yeah.
Flour, there's sugar, there's milk, there's
Everything.
water, so you're putting cinnamon
Mm-hmm.
or a little bit of nutmeg.
I don't like what you are doing because I'm hungry and you are trying to talk about food. I don't like that.
But you're putting these things together,
No.
and you're trying to make together, you're making a cake,
Yeah.
Liberia.
Mhm.
And we are going to take it piece by piece. So today we've laid the groundwork of how the people
Before 18,
before the free people,
1800,
before the
yes.
free, yeah,
Before 1800.
before the 1800, how the people came to Liberia.
Yes, yes. Why and
Who
all.
did they meet there?
Yes,
How did they consider themselves
yes,
when they were there?
yes,
How did they become Liberians, or were they d'accord
yes, yes,
groups?
yes,
Right? Prof, I'm using that word the right way, right?
yes, yes. Were
Okay,
they?
separate groups. So,
Yes,
so we're saying that, okay, little by little, we're coming to put this puzzle together.
yes.
When we get to
18.
1940s and 50s, we
Yeah.
talk about unification policy.
Yes,
We're
Jackie.
not even talking about that now. We're talking about the people
Uh,
that came from the disintegration of the empires,
yes,
they came
yes,
south, and they
yes.
settled to what is now Liberia.
The Green Coast,
The Green
the
Coast,
Guinea
yeah, the
Coast,
Green
Snow
Coast,
Forest, and what
yeah,
have you. These
yeah,
are the people, and so it's very much important. I'm glad you made that point, especially coming to, because Tubman does not exist until, of course, Tubman was born 1895, but
yes,
as someone of consequence, he does not exist until we are getting into the late 1930s and going into the 1940s. So let's hold the question of unification and all that, yeah, because it's around 1910 and what have you that this Arthur Barclay guy, because
yeah,
of taxes and all that kind of thing, decides that, well, why don't we bring these people who have been palling around here? Why don't we bring them in as members of the republic? So
yeah,
it is far from there. Some decades before these groups that we are talking about, the Kwa, the Mel, and the Mande, before they can become part of Liberia, there is the understanding we need to have before that thing comes to being.
and it's important to note that you see that these groups, as they came here, they're separate groups.
Yes, they like we talked about. They were
Okay,
dark hair.
there's a separate group.
The
Yeah,
cultural nations. They are cultural nations.
yeah, cultural nation. Yeah, the people
Each,
consider themselves
yes,
a republic, a nation in
yes,
itself.
yes, yes,
You know,
yes.
so we're coming now to build this puzzle, to build
Uh-huh.
this cake
Yes,
that in 1847 became a baked cake.
yeah, they're big things. Hopefully,
Yeah, yeah. So we thank you for joining us,
yes,
and share the show, as people say. Please share,
yeah,
tell other people about the show. I think this journey is a good one.
yes,
And we want to say, let's pray for our country. We know
yes,
the Liberia, the COVID is rising.
yeah. Amen.
Pray, tell people to wash their hands, to mask up,
Please
them in prayers.
don't doubt it. Don't doubt it.
Yeah,
Yes,
don't doubt it. Yeah.
yes,
And we want to say thank you for joining us as always. And it's important that we know our history. And I would say again, whether you are from the Mali Empire, the Songhay Empire, whether you're from Dahomey,
Yeah.
from the Ghana Empire, the Aksum Empire, African Empire, you know, whether you're from I don't know, whether you're from Sondiata Keita, from whether when you came to when your ancestors came to Liberia, whether they consider themselves Kisi, Gola, Bandi, Grebo, Kru, Pele, Bassa, we are all Liberians.
Yes.
And if we keep this unifying cry, we will get there eventually.
Yes.
We will. There may be stumble, but we will get there. So we are all Liberians. So enjoy the weekend. Happy Juneteenth again, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
We all are